Hello, everybody. Welcome to Norland Unwrapped, applying to Norland. Thank you so much for joining us all this evening. You are most welcome. We're going to get started very quickly. And with that, Mandy, could you turn into the first slide for me, please? Lovely. Welcome, everybody. So our Norland Unwrapped tonight is all about how to apply to Norland. So there's lots of information on the presentation this evening. We've got some wonderful students to answer questions. So as we go through the presentation, there is a question Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. So do obviously ask questions and we will follow up afterwards with questions and answers as well. But the session will be recorded. So if you need to nip off or for any reason you can't make the whole session, it will be available afterwards as like all of our Unwrapped sessions. Your camera is off and your microphone is muted. Okay, so we can't hear you and we can't see you, but hopefully you can hear and see us. And as I said, there's the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Just click on the question in the Q&A button as well. So this is another one of our wraps. I think it's the 20th session we've had, which is fantastic. And it is all about giving you those important bits of information. And obviously that would encourage you to come along to one of our open days and to find out more about us. So a warm welcome wherever you are in the world. I know we've got some international students joining us this evening, so you are more than welcome. And I will pass you over to Mandy to start the presentation. So we'll see you at the end for the Q&A. Thanks ever so much. Thanks, Mandy.
Thank you, Kate. Hello, everybody. So as Kate's just said, I'm Mandy Edmond. I am Vice Principal at Norland, one of the Vice Principals. We have two. And I also lead our Consultancy and Training Department. So my official title is Head of Enterprise and Strategic Partnerships. And as we go through the presentation, each member of staff will introduce themselves and each student will introduce themselves as you go through. So we won't test you at the end, so don't worry. We're just going to try and let you know who we are as we go through. So this is my 14th year at Norland, so you can tell that I like it here. It's a really, really lovely place to work, and I hope you'll soon discover that it's a really, really lovely place to study as well. And we're all quite normal, happy, friendly people. So again, I hope that's the impression that you get from us today. The reason I'm here today is because up until very recently, I have been running the admissions team at Norland and been very involved in making decisions about who we offer to and the interview processes and all of that sort of thing. I've handed all of that over to Dee now, and Dee will introduce herself later to you and tell you a bit more about her experience. But I'm here to hopefully give you a bit of information and to answer any questions that you might have. So we're going to do a bit of showing off first. You are all here to find out a bit more about Norland, and so I'm going to tell you about all the great things that you will hopefully discover as you carry on this journey to find out more about us. So first of all, you can't fail to have noticed if you look at our website, and if you've ever come to an open day at Norland, you can't help but notice that we are TEF Gold. So TEF stands for Teaching Excellence Framework. And it's the mechanism by which the government measures the quality of higher education providers. So that's all universities and all FE colleges and any private provider, anyone that offers a degree or any kind of higher education, they get rated on TEF, and you're either gold, silver or bronze. And as you can see from this slide, we are gold. And we are one of only 27 universities and higher education institutions in the country to achieve gold across all three categories. So there is a category for student experience and a category for student outcomes. So what that tells you is that the experience, as voted for by our students, is outstanding. And the outcomes, in other words, how well you do on your degree programme and the careers that you go on to do, is also rated gold. So that puts us in the top 12% nationally, which is absolutely outstanding. And it's really quite difficult for an institution like Norland to get the gold rating. So we are especially proud of it. Part of what goes towards assessing us for TEF, for the TEF award, is what our students think. So across the whole country, every third year or final year student who's studying for a degree takes part in the National Student Survey. And this is operated again by the government. and a set of standard questions are asked to all students, and then each institution gets their own results, and we're ranked then in terms of how well we do against other institutions. And you can see here that we have some outstanding results. You can see that, for example, 95% of students feel that the course developed the knowledge and skills that they'll need in the future, which shows you how relevant the course is to those who want to work with young children. Exploring ideas and concepts in depth, 92% are satisfied with that, and 98% agree that assessment feedback was given on time, which enables them to then improve on future assessment submissions. So we're very proud of our NSS scores, and we just wanted to tell you about that. We're also really proud of, I don't think we've got it on here, but the mental health support. That's something else that gets judged, and we always score extremely well on that too. We also have won some awards. So you can see here that in 2025, so just this year, we have again for the 5th time won the Outstanding Small and Specialist Provider of the Year on the What Uni Student Choice Awards. So again, these are awards that are voted for by students across the country. They vote for their own institution, and our students vote us top. Our students give us the highest grades when compared to all other independent small and specialists that enter the awards. So very proud of that. A few years ago, we include this one, the 2021 one, because it's about enhanced graduate outcomes. That was the only year that they ran that award, and it was a special award during COVID. And it was voted for by a panel of students from other universities. So we think it's absolutely wonderful that students from other universities saw what we do for our graduates and the careers that our graduates go on to achieve, and voted us top in the country. So we're very proud of that too. So I'm going to spend a very short time telling you a little bit about the courses that you're going to be studying, because today we're going to be really focusing on the admissions process and everything that goes around that. But just in case you haven't, maybe this is your first interaction with Norland, I'm just going to run through a little bit about this, but you will find out much more about the courses in future Unwraps that Kate will tell you about at the end. And also, please do come along to open days, because you'll get to meet us all in person then and find out much more and see the environment that you'll be studying in. So I can't recommend that highly enough. But just very briefly then, we call this a degree with a difference. It's a degree with a difference because it is quite unique in the way that we deliver your learning and the way we integrate the two courses, the Norland degree and the Norland diploma. So on the degree itself, you're going to be studying a 3-year full-time course, and we cover all the sorts of things that you would expect to cover. But obviously this is delivered to you by Norland expert lecturers who have all either been nannies or worked with young children in previous roles. So core modules, for example, developing the professional practitioner. So that's all about you as your identity, your professional identity, and professionalism, how you instill confidence in the parents and the families that you work with in terms of your own knowledge and skills. Learning development pedagogical theory, as you can imagine, very important that you understand how young children learn, the circumstances under which they learn, the role of the adult, your role, in other words, in supporting that learning and development. Regulating behaviour. Now, this is a really important aspect of the course, and one that we actually revisit 3 times. So there are 3 different modules, one at each year, all about regulating children's behaviour. It's absolutely fundamental to the role of not just a nanny, but anyone working with young children. Understanding children's emotions, helping them to understand their emotions, understanding that behaviour is a form of communication. So there's something that we revisit throughout the whole 3 years in what we call a spiral curriculum. And in fact, many of our themes we come back to time and time again to really make sure that learning and expertise is embedded within you and your practice. The baby years is another quite unique module for Norland. We really do focus on those very early months of life for young children. and help you to understand that actually we're laying the foundations even before children are born as to who they will become as adults and what their attitudes are going to be and what their personalities are going to be. The importance of you and other adults surrounding those children and helping to form them. That's what we really go into in that baby years. And then, as you would expect with any undergraduate degree, there is a work-based project in your third year. You might know that as a dissertation. It's an opportunity for you to take something you're really interested in about young children, and really investigate it and gather some data and read the literature and just see if you can discover new thinking about that particular area. I supervise dissertations, and quite often my supervisees will look at things like siblings and what happens in a family when a new child is born, multiples. So if you're a twin, how easy is it for twins to develop their own identities, for example? So some really interesting topics. But anything over your 3 years, you'll kind of hone what really interests you, and you'll be able to choose your own topic in that third year. And then, as I said, you'll also study for the Norland diploma. So where the degree teaches you everything you need to know, the diploma helps you to put that into practice. So we really focus on practical skills. We look at things like how to change nappies, how to sterilize baby equipment, how to support breastfeeding, how to top and tail and bath babies, what to do when a child isn't feeling very well, how to communicate well with parents, how to dress children appropriately for the weather, all sorts of those practical things, how to travel with children, all the things that will really make your life easier when you're actually working with children, because it's one thing to learn about the theory, it's another thing to put it into practice. And so the Norland diploma helps you to put that into practice. We also teach you to cook. So you may already know how to cook. You may alternatively be somebody who can only do toast, and even then it's a bit burnt. But it doesn't matter what level you're at, because we will take you to a stage where you can plan healthy and nutritious food for the young children in your care and provide it to them, no matter what their dietary requirements, their age, their parental wishes in terms of what they eat. You will be able to accommodate all that and make sure that children are eating healthy and grow up well. We teach you to sew. So this is something that used to be seen as quite old-fashioned, but actually nowadays, when we have them make, do and mend and recycling things that we do now, sewing is becoming more and more important. And actually, I used to be one of those mums where my child would come home from school and tell me it was book day tomorrow and they needed an outfit, and I'd be like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? You won't have that problem, because you will be able to whip a pair of curtains down from the window and create the most wonderful outfit for your child, because you will have learned how to do that, both sewing, both machine sewing and hand sewing, and lots of different decorative techniques that you'll be able to use through what you learn at Norland. We do lots of employment training too, so you will be learning about CVs and contracts and budgeting and financing and all of that sort of thing. But you'll also be learning some really important skills through that employment training, such as how to have difficult conversations with parents and employers, how to drive safely when it's very slippery and wet outside, how to use an Aga, how to do baby massage. So we have this wonderful time of 8 weeks right at the end of your third year, where we give you all these extra special skills ready for employment. And then once you've finished your third year, and you haven't quite finished your Norland diploma, you will have finished your degree but not your diploma, because there is a fourth year to the Norland diploma, and that's called the newly qualified nanny year. And that is a year where we will help you find a job. So we will have a jobs list for you to choose from, and you will go into paid employment with a family for that fourth year, completely supported by a specialist team in Norland, who are actually all Norland nannies themselves. So they will be supporting you to make sure that you are practicing right at the correct level to be a Norland nanny, and you can apply all of the things you've learned in practice in a family. You don't have to pay fees in that fourth year. you are being paid. You are in an employment contract with that family. You're also being assessed. So we're making sure you're at the right level. And then at the end of that 4th year, when you successfully complete it, you will then be awarded your Norland diploma. So 2 courses, 2 lots of assessment, 2 graduation ceremonies. I'm now going to hand over to Hannah, who's going to take you through the admissions process.
Thank you, Mandy. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah, and I'm one of the admission managers at Norland. I've worked at Norland for 11 years and started off in the Norland agency, so I've been able to place qualified Norland nannies all over the world. I joined admissions in December in 2023, and I work alongside Rebecca. Rebecca's been at Norland for 15 years and in the admissions team for 11 years. So together we really do have the knowledge and experience to help you through the process. We're going to cover a lot today, so if you do have any questions or think of any questions after, please do give us a call or drop us an email. We're always happy to help. And we'll be with you right from the start of the process up until enrolment. If we could go to the next slide, please. So how do we help you? In the early stages, we'll answer any queries that you have about entry requirements, qualifications, any question that you have, please do get in touch. We'll then manage all applications which are made via UCAS, and we'll support and advise applicants during the interview process. After an offer has been made, we will help you with completing your admissions form, and we'll also answer any questions that you have about uniform, the curriculum, anything to help you prepare for starting at Norland. And we also process your first year DBS applications. If we go to the next slide, please. So whether you are a UK or international student, you need to make your application to Norland via UCAS. We've got a direct link on our website, which will take you to our course on the UCAS website. And the image you can see on the screen is what you will see on UCAS. Once you apply, you need our institution code, course code, and our course name. And you can also find all this information on our website. If we could go to the next slide, please. So then with regards to our entry requirements, what do you need? You need a minimum of 96 UCAS points. Now, if you're unsure how many UCAS points your qualification holds, you can go onto the UCAS tariff calculator and pop it in. Now, there are so many level 3 qualifications that accrue UCAS points. It could be from an A level, a T level, a cash qualification, to name a few. There are lots and lots of different qualifications that we accept. So please do go on and check, or you can contact us to discuss further. You need a minimum of 5 GCSEs, which should include English and Maths, all at grade 4 or above. If you're an international student and you want to see how your qualifications compare, there is more information on our website. You can also email us if you have any queries about that. If English is an additional language, then you will need to demonstrate English language competency. So like I mentioned before, all of the applications are made via UCAS. We completely appreciate that you might be applying to multiple institutions, and therefore your personal statement might be related to a completely different subject. If you wanted to send an additional personal statement that was tailored to Norland, you could send that to us at admissions@norland.ac.uk. We will update your status via UCAS, so you'll be invited to interview on UCAS, and we'll make offers via UCAS. So you just need to make sure that you're keeping track of that regularly, and we'll often follow up with emails as well, so more information about your interview process and offer packs. And if we could pop to the next slide. So personal statements. You may be aware that there's been a change to the format of personal statements, and they're no longer one longer piece of text. There are now 3 separate sections. So UCAS have done this to help you, to make the process easier and more structured for applicants, giving you the opportunity to really shine. So you can see the 3 new questions that we have on the screen. It's up to you how you structure your responses in that. You've got a 4,000 character count limit across all the answers, but you can choose how you allocate that. So you might have more to say in section 3, if you've got lots of work experience or you've done lots of volunteering. You might choose to add more to section 2 if you want to talk about how transferable your skills from your level 3 are and how they relate to Norland. It's really up to you how you spread the count over the 3 sections. You just need to be aware that we will still be reviewing it as one whole personal statement, so you don't want to repeat yourself in each section. If we could pop to the next slide, please, that's great. There's lots of really useful information about the new personal statement structure and format on the UCAS website, so we recommend that you take time to have a look at that. And remember, it's a personal statement for you. It's personal. Make sure you're providing evidence about how passionate you are to study at Norland. Make sure you're giving clear examples and showing that you have a genuine interest in your early years. So what are our top tips for you with a personal statement? Make sure you start early. Begin drafting your statement with plenty of time for editing. Really showcase your passion. Clearly articulate what excites you about the subject and how your interests have evolved. And then make sure you seek feedback from teachers or advisors and proofread before you send us your application. As I mentioned before, you can send an additional personal statement tailored to Norland. If you do this, it doesn't need to follow the new structure with the 3 sections. It could be one plain piece of text. And if we could go to the next slide, we can talk you through a bit about the interview process. If you meet our entry requirements, you will be invited to attend an interview in person in Bath. We do offer virtual interviews for applicants who are living outside of the UK. Now, our interviews run from November until the end of March. They normally take place on a Friday and they're approximately 2 hours long. During your interview, you'll have a welcome talk with staff from our senior leadership team, a one-to-one interview with a member of staff where you'll be asked why you want to study at Norland and trained to become a Norland nanny. And you'll take part in a group task, and information will be sent to you about the group task ahead of the interview. You're also welcome to bring along a portfolio to showcase any relevant work if you like. Now, we completely understand that interviews can be a nervous experience, but we have a really welcoming environment and it's a really informal interview. We just want to see why you want to come to Norland. We want to see that passion and enthusiasm. And it's also an opportunity for you to ask any questions to staff and find out if Norland is a good fit for you. Now, I've given you a brief overview there of everything. Like I said, any questions, please do call or email me or Rebecca, and we very much look forward to receiving your applications. And I'm going to hand over now to Carolina, one of our second year students. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Carolina and I'm in second year. I'm originally from London, so I have come to Bath to study at Norland. While I was doing sixth form, I studied psychology, sociology and biology. And while I was still studying, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I was still in between courses, but I wasn't set on anything specifically. But I realized that I had lots of experience working with children. At the time, and I still am, I was a volunteer police cadet and I used to teach the junior cadets all about the Met Police, and I volunteer at different charities as well as the regular babysitting and other things. So this to say that if you weren't quite sure what you wanted to do and you were thinking about childcare, Norland just might be a place for you. Next slide, please. So the application process. So once I decided I wanted to work in early years, I wrote my personal statement and I figured out that I wanted to apply to Norland, and I applied through UCAS. I then got my interview and I prepared for it. Norland does give you a detailed email of what it's going to be like, and so that you don't have to be very stressed out for it. So I did my interview prep and I practiced as much as I could and figured out the points I was going to talk about. And I had my interview and it went very well. And then I got my offer and I got into London. Here I am. Next slide, please. My tips and advice for your personal statement would be to include as much relevant experience as you have. If the experience definitely is relevant, then it's not too small. You can talk about it for sure. It doesn't have to necessarily be that you like worked in the school or worked in nursery. It can be like in any type of job that you've had with children. You also should talk about your experience and how it will shape you as an Norland nanny, rather than just saying what you did, but also like speak about how that will impact you and how you can use what you've learned to become a Norland nanny. And then for the interview specifically, I would say to be your authentic self. I understand that you can be nervous. I was nervous myself, but just be your authentic self and you'll be just fine. I also would say for you to practice a little bit. Just know what key points you want to speak about when you do go for your interview. It will also help you be less nervous because you'll know what you want to talk about, as well as planning your outfit a few days before. That was a big deal for me, and like even some of my friends that I talked to about our interview process now, not knowing what you're going to wear, it can be a bit stressful, but if you figure it out a few days before your interview, when it comes the morning of, you won't be stressed out. It would be very, very chill. You should also arrive early, I would say, especially if you're coming out of Bath, because you never know, traffic happens, and then it's just not going to help. So I know some people like went to like a coffee shop and like had tea and then came in. Like it was very, very chill process. And the interview is a very relaxed process. Once you finish it, you will realize that there was no reason for you to be nervous. Everyone's very friendly. You probably will see people that you had your interview with when you joined Norland. That's what happened to me, and then you'll be very nice to like see where you were and where you are now. So yeah, I'm going to pass over to Mandy now. She's going to talk to you about accommodation.
Thank you, Carolina. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit confused about the number of buttons I have to press all at the same time, but we're here now. I hope you can hear me. So just a little bit about accommodation. Now, Norland doesn't own its own accommodation for students, but instead we work with a number of landlords and agents across the city. And we, around about now, this time of year, we're securing all the accommodation for next year. And we have landlords that we've worked with for a long time who we trust. And you know, the houses are there are various different types of houses. Some are flats, some are terraced houses, some are 3 bedrooms, some are 6 or 7 bedrooms. So completely random. We get the accommodation that we can get. Obviously, as you can imagine, there's a huge competition for accommodation in Bath because there are 2 other universities in Bath. So lots and lots of students. I think I was a statistic, there's like 20,000 students or something in Bath. So it's a big student population. But we, as I say, have these good relationships with our landlords. Some of the accommodation is very central and some of it is a bit further out. So it really is a random selection as to what you are allocated. You do not have to take the accommodation that we provide for you. If you are local or if you prefer to find your own accommodation, that's absolutely fine. When we make you an offer, we'll be sending out the form and you just have to indicate on that form whether or not you'd like us to find the accommodation for you. If you do select that you'd like us to find the accommodation for you, you are given an option to say things like whether you'd like a lively house or a quieter house. And a little bit about you. So we try to match you with like-minded individuals, but it is a random allocation. And you won't get the opportunity to visit the house before you before you move in, because obviously there are current students in there right now, and until your place is confirmed, usually once you've had your A-level or level 3 results, we don't know whether you're coming or not, so we can't do those allocations until the very last minute. In terms of how much it costs, it is expensive to live in Bath, unfortunately. This year, first year accommodation ranged from £625 a month to £1,000 a month, with bills on top of that. And the length of the tenancy is around 51 weeks. So even though you may finish Norland early in the summer, you are still committed to pay for your house, until the 51st week, so just before the new first years will move in the beginning of September. So that's something else to bear in mind. I should also say that bills that rent is likely to go up. So that was the rent for this year. It is likely that landlords will increase their rent. Inflation, as you know, is still rising. And so it is likely, they haven't confirmed with us yet what the rents will be, but as soon as we have them, we will put them on our website. So as well as student houses we have across the city, we also have this what's called the Quasar building. So it is much more like a halls of residence. So it's much more like a traditional university experience if you live in Quasar. There are 47 bedrooms, all en suite, and the whole block is taken up with Norland first years. So you wouldn't be sharing that accommodation with any other students or people from outside. The same should be said actually of the houses. We secure those just for Norland students. Occasionally, if we have a spare room, we will invite other students from another university to come in, but that happens very rarely. And the Quasar building in particular is most likely to be all Norland students. The rooms are organised into apartments. So I think there's one flat that just has 2 bedrooms and all the other flats have 5 bedrooms. And as you can see there, the rent for this year was between £736 to £816 per room per month. Includes the internet, but doesn't include any other bills. And as I've said, that is likely to go up next year. We do guarantee though that you won't pay more than £1,000 a month for the rent. And in fact, if disaster happens and all of a sudden we need to find some extra accommodation, for example, this year we had a landlord pull their accommodation out from us on results day. So we were suddenly scrabbling around trying to find more accommodation for the students who were allocated to that house. If something like that happens and we end up having to take a more expensive accommodation, Norland will pay the difference to the £1,000. So you will never have to pay more than the £1,000 a month rent. Just one final note on student accommodation. It's worth saying that this is student accommodation. It's not going to be like your home. It's not going to be all your creature comforts from home. We'd urge you to bring things from home to make it feel more home-like, and with fairy lights around your mirrors and things to go on your photos to go on your corkboards and things. But you're not going to be living in the lap of luxury, but you're equally not going to be living in a slum, because we do go and have a look at all the houses first and make sure that they are in a livable standard. And we are here to help. We have an accommodation officer, Coral, who is here to help if there are any issues. Right, I'm going to now hand over to Prudence, who's going to tell you about her journey into Norland. Over to you, Prudence.
Thank you, Mandy. So hi, I'm Prudence. So before coming to Norland, I'd done a T-level course in childcare. So I came to Norland with a level 3 qualification. So I had an amazing time. I had a 2-year placement at a pre-prep school. So you can see the lovely group of children that I got to see grow up from age 2, and I still go back to that school every summer and work there. So I have a lovely relationship. Before that, I was a part of Scouts and I helped out with a lot of volunteering. I also helped out with younger groups. So I made activities which sort of helped moving on to my nurseries and now into nannying at Norland. And I've also done some work with multiples through the Twins Trust, which is a lovely way of giving up your time and doing some volunteering to support other families. If you could move to the next slide, please. So writing the personal statement I found slightly tough because I'm not 100% the best academically. So I asked my family and a lot of staff members to help me read it over and sort of support me with SPAG, but I made sure that it was all my input and my voice that was coming through. I also was so eager to come to Norland, so I was really proud that I'm actually being able to do this because this has been my dream since I was about 11. So I only applied to Norland University, so I applied as soon as I can, but apply at least by the deadline so you can have equal considerations. I'd say have fun in the interview process. I remember being super nervous and stressed as I travelled all the way from Kent for the day, but it was a really nice way to see the city. The staff are lovely and I can't stress it enough, it will be absolutely fine. I also bought a portfolio, which sort of just allowed me to speak through what I've done in the past. So I've had like certificates from Department for Education courses or online open university. It's a lovely way to sort of read more about children and go through with some more lecture information. And I also use the TAP app to communicate with current students like myself, and I also know Carolina's on there, and you can just sort of send us messages if you're ever unsure of the process or any questions about Norland. But yeah, I think that's all. Thank you. I think I'm going to pass on to Dee.
Thank you, Prudence. So hello, I'm Dee Byrne and I'm Head of Marketing, Student Recruitment and Admissions at Norland. I've worked in higher education for many years with a wide range of institutions, including traditional large universities, research-intensive institutions, and smaller specialised providers. And I joined Norland almost 7 years ago, and I lead all marketing, student recruitment, and now admissions activities, which means I work closely with the admissions team to assess applications and make offers, and I'm taking that forward from Mandy. I am also co-chair of the National Independent Education Recruitment and Admissions Network. So I get to work with other specialist providers and we share insight and best practice. And just a little bit about me. My first job after graduating was an English foreign language teacher in northern Japan. I'm from the very far west of Cornwall. I'm very proud of my Cornish heritage. And I have an 8-year-old daughter who you will see in the presentation. Next slide, please, Mandy. And here she is. She was 2 when this picture was taken. She is now 8, so very different indeed. So I'm going to just run through fees and finance. If you're currently considering applying to Norland, obviously a very important aspect of Norland life. As you will be aware, our fees are higher than standard university degree fees, and this is because you'll be studying 2 distinct qualifications, the degree and the diploma. You'll also have an extensive value-added curriculum, which teaches you additional professional and life skills. We have really high staff to student ratio, which means you will receive the very highest standard of teaching and learning, along with all the benefits that you'll receive of being at a specialist early childhood provider. So fees for 26-27, including the lifelong learning fee, which is a one-off cost due at the start of your first year only. So you only pay it in the first year, you don't pay it after. Totals £17,884 for UK students. And that's £21,014 for international students. The higher cost for international students is to cover the additional support you'll receive with your visa application and other transition processes that you'll need to do when you come to the UK. So tuition fees for next year, that's 27-28, and successive years, so 28-29, are subject to annual review, and they may increase by up to 5% or CPI if higher each year. And we do put that information so you can see the scenarios of how those increases work across the 3 years on the website. And we will inform you once the next year's fees are confirmed, and we also publish those, but we'll also let you know if you're an applicant. There are no tuition fees due in the newly qualified nanny year. That's your 4th year of training when you will be earning a salary. You will also be mentored and assessed throughout that year by the newly qualified nanny team. And all of that cost is covered by the fees that the family pay to employ you. So finally, you start to earn and you can start to pay back your borrowing and your loans. So there are some additional study costs you should be aware of. The uniform costs around £1,000, and that's for the full 3 years of study. You also will have to pay for a DBS check, which is approximately at the moment £65, and we do recommend you do the annual update fee of £16 because that then saves you money overall. Sewing kit and materials will cost around £120. Again, that's across the 3 years, so £120 in total. But do ask the sewing lecturers for advice on how to secure low-cost materials, and they do encourage recycling and upcycling. So you may well have materials that you can upcycle to save on money. And then the Professional Association of Norlanders membership is £100 a year, but as a student and as an NQN, you'll enjoy free membership. So that's something to think about for when you are a fully qualified Norland nanny. And the Professional Association works as it does for other professional associations, such as those for doctors and lawyers, etc. And is well worth paying for. Next slide, please. So here we have given you an indication. If you are a UK student, you may be eligible for a tuition fee loan. But please note that this is slightly lower than you would get for another university. And again, this is because our fees are higher than standard university fees. We are not a fee cap provider. So you do get a little bit less because of that. And we can show you in the in that table what your UK termly fees look like, and the total at the bottom there once that £6,355 is taken off from the loan, with the remaining total to pay for that first year of £11,529. You may also be eligible for means tested maintenance loans from UK Student Finance. Again, they will vary in amount according to your personal circumstances. And also you may be eligible for additional UK Student Finance funding if you have a disability, a long-term health condition, mental health condition, or a specific learning difficulty. So again, there's full information on the government website. You can apply for those loans from the end of February, that should say 26, and we will let you know when you can start applying. So we will let you know once you're able to start making that application for your loan. International students, you can't access UK student financing, so the fees are as stated at £21,014. So you would need to obviously fund all of that. We offer instalment options via a direct debit scheme. That's for all students, whether UK or international, and you can see how that would break down so that the costs sort of run across the year to make it a bit easier to find those payments. And you can see in term 1, you'd make 3 monthly instalments at the first of the month. And again, term 2 the same, and in term 3, 2 monthly instalments. And you can see how we've split that out so that it's as even as possible across the academic year. But again, for further information about how to fund your studies, any financial assistance, any queries at all, please visit our Finance and Bursaries webpage. There's lots of information on there. There's student funding blogs that you can read to see how current students are funding their studies and their living expenses. And do reach out to the finance team. You can see them at any of our open days, or you can reach out to them directly and have a chat if you've got any specific questions about funding. Next slide, please, Mandy. So bursary and deadlines. Well, the deadline for getting your application into us for a place to study at Norland, so that's the UCAS equal consideration deadline, is Wednesday the 14th of January 2026, 6 p.m. UK time. So you need to apply by this date to have the best possible chance of securing your place. And what that equal consideration deadline means is every application that we receive ahead of that deadline, we consider equally. So you will have the best possible chance. Please note, this is actually an earlier deadline than the last few years. UCAS have returned to their original deadline that they ran before COVID. So most in the last few years, it was end of Jan, but they've now brought it back to the middle of January, that Wednesday, the 14th of January, as they previously did. So just make a note of that so that you know that that's really when you need to get your application in. And we offer support through a means tested bursary scheme. This is the Emily Ward Bursary. It's named after our founder, Emily Ward, and this is funded through fees income that we get through the Norland agency. It is a generous scheme, but it is limited. So we offer a limited number of £10,000 and £5,000 means tested bursaries. So you would receive, if you were successful, you would receive £10,000 for each year of study off the cost of your fees. Equally, the £5,000 the same for each year of the 3-year programme. We also offer several smaller bursaries to applicants that meet our funding criteria, and we have a small number of £1 or £500 uniform bursaries as well. You must hold the offer of a place to be considered, and all conditional and unconditional offer holders will be sent an application form to apply for a bursary. And the deadline for the bursary applications for 2026 entry is the 10th of April. But please note, we do have a limited bursary pot. Please make sure you have an alternative funding plan in place before you accept an offer from us. But as I said, there's plenty of information about funding on our website. Please come along to one of our open days. and reach out to the finance team to talk about any specific questions you have. And the team's contact details are on the website, so you can also reach out directly if you can't get to the next open day. I'm now going to hand over to Claire, our visa manager, who will talk through the international student visa process.
Okay, good evening. So my name is Claire and I've been at Norland since October 2019 as a student records data and visa manager. So prior to this, I worked as a registrar at an English language school in Bristol, where part of my role involved looking after their student visa sponsor license. So I have a lot of knowledge about the thrilling world of visa compliance to share with you. Next slide, please. So firstly, a bit of background information about Norland as a student visa sponsor. So in April 2021, Norland was granted its student visa sponsor license by UK Visas and Immigration. This meant that we could continue to welcome EU students after Brexit who now needed visas to study. And for the very first time, we could recruit international students from outside the EU. So something good came from Brexit for us for this at least. Then in August 2025, after 4 years of successful compliance, we achieved what's called our track record status. Now, this is a big step forward for Norland because it means student visa holders who enrol after this date are able to work in the UK, take part fully in Norland placements and apply for a graduate visa after completing their BA to undertake their NQN year in the UK. Whereas beforehand, there were restrictions in place surrounding these things. So this is great news for us. And so part of my role at Norland is to oversee compliance with UK EVI rules and to support visa students. I'm here to answer your questions, guide you through the visa application process and make sure you've got the right documents in place. So if you need help with these things, I'm here for you. Next slide, please. Now, I'll just take you through some of the key facts to bear in mind if you will need a student visa to study at Norland. So to be considered for visa sponsorship at Norland, you first need to meet all of our usual entry conditions. So the admissions team are going to be your first port of contact for this. If your qualifications are international, as Hannah touched on briefly earlier, our admissions team can check equivalencies, so do get in touch with them if you aren't sure. And if English isn't your first language, you will need a secure English language test. And the one we accept for the purposes of a student visa application is the IELTS for UKVI with a minimum score of 6.0 overall. And upon completion of your BA for your newly qualified nanny year, as I mentioned briefly earlier, you'll need to apply for a graduate visa, which currently lets you live and work in the UK for up to 2 years after your studies. Unfortunately, there are some additional costs you'll need to bear in mind. For example, the student visa application fee from outside the UK, which is currently £490. You'll also need to pay the immigration health surcharge, which gives you access to the NHS, the same access that I have to the National Health Service, so it does represent good value, which is £776 per year, and that is paid up front for the whole length of your course when you do your visa application. And again, for the graduate visa for your NQN year, the fee to apply for this is currently £822. And again, you need to pay the health surcharge for this, which is slightly more with a graduate visa of £1,035 per year. And again, you need to pay this upfront when you do your graduate visa application for the whole period of your stay. But again, I will be here to help you with all this if you need me. At the bottom there, I've just shared some useful links for further information. And for now, I think that's it from me, and I'm going to pass on to one of our wonderful visa students, Frankie.
Hi everyone, my name is Frankie and I am a second year student. I am 19 years old and I am from America, if you couldn't tell by the accent. I'm gonna make this quick because I am conscious of time, but for any international students who are watching, I have lived in California, Florida, and North Carolina, so I have been around a lot and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Before Norland, I did a school year abroad in Italy for 9 months, which definitely prepared me for international living. I also went to an intense college prep high school. So I did take around 6 APs throughout high school, which is not required to get into Norland, but I would definitely recommend having 1 or 2 under your belt just to help the transition to higher level learning. It's been very helpful in the academic sense to have had that experience. But the most important thing that you need for Norland is just a passion for working with children. That's the number one thing that they're looking for. and you're pretty much gonna be fine if that's what you bring. I didn't have a ton of childcare experience before coming. I have since worked 4 years in my school's summer camps, and I did some buddy programs. There's a national one, Big Brother, Big Sister. So if you're familiar with that, I did do that. And then those are just some hobbies of mine at Norland. Next slide, please. So as Hannah and Claire had mentioned, I applied through UCAS in the fall of 2023. UCAS is incredibly easy to apply to, so if you're international and are intimidated by it, it's much easier than SCORE, any of the other American systems. I did write a second Norland essay because I was not applying to childcare for my other choices, and that was really helpful because I got to convey my passion for working with children. I had an online interview which went very, very well. It was very easy to set up and was not intimidating. It was very fun. I actually got my decision only 2 weeks later, which is very quick. But I did have a conditional acceptance because I had to wait for my AP scores to come back. So just, be aware that you may not have full admittance. You may just have to wait for things to finish up. If you have any questions, Claire is incredibly helpful. She answered more than her fair share of questions from me throughout the summer. And then they have made a switch to the e-visa, which makes the visa process much more manageable. And then be aware when you move to Bath, you'll want to open a bank account right away, have a proof of right to rent. You will have to apply for your DBS, and then be aware of the conditions/limitations of the visa, which you can reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help, and obviously so is Claire. Next slide, please. I've absolutely loved Norland because of the resources, the experiences, and the fun events. The cooking and sewing is just super fun. I love the library. All of the lectures and staff are incredibly helpful. And it does give a traditional, college experience going and studying in the library, so don't worry about missing out on that. And then you also have your placements, of course, which is giving you work experience unlike anything you could really get in America. The new visa students will have the benefit of a job shop, which is really, really great because you guys will be allowed to work. And there's just so many things that you can do down there. I won't go into them all, but it's definitely a very involved college life. Next slide, please. And then in terms of housing, Norland will help find your first year housing, but do be prepared for second and third year. In terms of the workload, you are getting both a degree and a diploma, and this goes for everyone. Do be aware that there is lots of independent time, but there's also lots to do. So be prepared for the workload. Norland does have really great student support that you can reach out to, which is amazing. And then I've listed quite a few things there as well that you can do in your free time. So just take a picture of that. But that's all. I'm going to hand it back to Mandy.
Thank you very much, Frankie. Just a quick reminder that if you have any questions, please do pop them in the Q&A box, and we'll be getting to those very, very shortly. So last thing from me before we do go to those questions and answers, you've had the information today, lots and lots of information about what a great place Norland is to study, and we really want you to make an informed decision about whether this is the right place for you. So it's really important that we point out to you that being a Norland nanny, well, being a Norland student first of all, is tough because you're doing 2 courses. You have to work really, really hard. And that sets you up ready to be a Norland nanny because, again, it's tough being a Norland nanny, and you have to work very, very hard. It is physically exhausting, it's emotionally exhausting, but it's the most rewarding job that you could possibly do, shaping the future lives. I mean, what better job is there in the world? And what better place to study if you want to work with young children? Why not come to Norland, where you can get paid very, very well for doing a job that you love? And there's not many adults out there that can say that's their life, but this could be yours. However, we do expect quite high standards from you. We do expect you to be very, very committed, and we do expect you to be resilient and independent. And we expect to see those 2 things developing throughout your 3 years here. So whilst you are surrounded by your fellow students and really happy, friendly, helpful, supportive staff, We do expect you to be able to show us by the time you're in your 3rd year that you are capable of looking after somebody's most important thing in their whole wide world, their child. It's a highly, highly responsible job. And if you're showing us throughout your time at Norland that you can't actually manage on your own, then we have to question whether it's the right career for you. So please do make sure that you understand the Norland Code of Professional Responsibilities. Those are competence standards. Those are the requirements for a Norland nanny. And if you come in with a specific learning difficulty or any type of need to support you and your learning, that's absolutely fine. We will be able to support you. But through your 3 years, we need to see that independence and resilience growing, because parents will employ the person that they think best suits their family and the person that they can rely on. And if you are someone that they look at your certificate and your transcript at the end of your study here, and it says that your attendance has only been 50%, then they don't want somebody who can only turn up to work for 50%. They just want somebody they can fully rely on. If you're working for 2 surgeons, for example, you not going into work because you are a bit tired means that they have to cancel somebody's surgery. So it's important stuff. And we will support you to become independent, and we will support you to become resilient, but you have to put the effort in too. So that's what this is about. Work hard. We will support you all the way, but you need to work hard and demonstrate that you're able to be that independent, resilient person who becomes one of the most important people in a child's life. Okay, enough from me. I'm very aware that we are very close to being out of time, but hopefully everybody can hang on for a bit in order to answer any questions you've got. So I'm going to hand over to Kate now.
Thank you, Mandy.
Through that bit.
Yes, we'll squeeze in as many as we possibly can, if that's okay with everybody to stay with us. So there is a lot of questions about the same thing. So I'm going to ask Mandy and Hannah, really. The question we're getting quite a lot is basically how quickly after you've had an interview will you get an offer, and how competitive is actually Norland itself? So how many spaces do we have for the number of applicants? There's quite a lot of questions about that. So I'm going to do one generic question, and if you could answer that, that would be fantastic.
Hannah, over to you.
Okay, brilliant. So it's hard to say when you'll find out from your interview, because we have the equal consideration deadline that Dee mentioned, which is the 14th of January. So everybody who applies by that date needs equal consideration. So we can't make lots of offers straight away, because we need to make sure we still have space in the course. So we will slowly make offers, and you may hear straight after your interview. However, please do not be disheartened if you don't hear straight away. It doesn't mean you haven't been accepted. We just need to make sure we're managing our application and our offers. But that will all be clearly communicated to you after your interview.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Anything you want to add, Mandy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of how competitive it is to get into Norland, the last few years we have had round about 2 applications for each place that's available. So it is competitive, but the people that get the place at Norland are the ones that can, as each of our 3 students have said, are the ones that can really show that passion for working with young children, that understanding that it is tough, it's hard work, but you're prepared to put that hard work in because you recognise it's the most important and rewarding job in the whole wide world. So that's what needs to shine through your application and through your interview.
Thank you very much for that. I have a question about bursaries. After the bursary deadline, how long do I have to wait until I find out if my application for a bursary has been approved? I think that's for Dee. Would you be able to answer that, Dee, or Mandy? Don't mind.
I'm happy to take that, Dee, if you like. So you will know usually within a week. So once the deadline happens, we meet as a team, we rank all the applications in terms of need. As we've already said, it's means tested. And so you will know fairly quickly after. But I can't reiterate enough what Dee said about making sure you have got a backup plan, because they are highly competitive, those bursaries. And unfortunately, we just don't have enough to go around for everybody that applies.
Thanks, Mandy. I have a question about a DBS. I currently have a DBS and it's on the update service. Would I still be required to pay for a new one if I'm part of that process already? Hannah, would you be able to answer that for me?
Yeah, of course. So if it's an enhanced DBS on the update service, we do accept that. I would just recommend for anybody who doesn't have a DBS, don't worry, we will give clear instructions to all offer holders about what you need to do. But if you did have an enhanced DBS on the update service, you wouldn't need to get a new one. We'd obviously need to check it, but that's what we ask of you, so that should be fine.
Thank you very much for that. I have got a question, and I want to ask the students this, if this is okay. And it's a question about the uniform. Do you enjoy wearing the uniform, and do you wear the uniform all day, every day? And I think it's quite a relevant question. So I'd like to ask the three students if they would talk about the uniform, if that's okay.
Hi, yeah. I personally love the uniform as it sort of like gives me a lot of pride, especially walking around the city. I get a lot of compliments and people asking like sort of what we are, what university we're from, and sort of what we do for children. And I've also done scouting before, so that really helps with the transition. So regarding to wearing it all the time, we have a practical uniform, which we wear twice a week, and a formal uniform that we also wear twice a week, if that answers it.
I will just add on for international students. I think there can be a lot of like fear about a uniform, but uniforms are very common here. And so a lot of other students in the city are walking around wearing uniforms. Obviously not like university students, but younger. So you do actually blend in more than you think you would before you come.
Lovely. And Carolina?
I'll say that I agree with Prudence. It is something to be proud of when you wear it. When I first started wearing it, I had to get used to it. People do stop and ask you, it is very true. Or some people, once like I've walked around and they say, oh, like I'm a Northern Nanny myself. So it's really nice to like see other people. But yeah, it is really nice to wear it, I think. It's part of Northern, it's part of the experience. And yeah.
That's great, thank you. I'm going to ask Mandy as well, this one. Would you recommend deferring a year to gain more experience and help fund studying? We've got a few questions about deferring and gap years. So
Okay.
are there any recommendations for that?
We wouldn't recommend to you because it's a personal decision, but we do have quite a number of students that do exactly that. You know, you can earn quite a fair bit of money through a gap year. So if that's what you want to do, then we would certainly recommend that for you. Getting experience is always really helpful. So whether or not you defer, if you're lucky enough to be doing a level 3 course that's an early years related level 3 course, you probably are getting lots of placements. But if you're coming more of a traditional route or studying different topics, then make sure you do get to get in some babysitting or some work experience wherever you possibly can in your local nurseries and schools. And if you really aren't sure whether this is the right career for you, then a gap year is definitely the right thing to do, because you need to, you know, the idea of working with young children and they falling quietly asleep in your arms every night while you sing lullabies is not realistic. You know, as I say, it's very hard work and it involves body fluids. So you need to make sure that that is something that you are happy to accept. And that you, despite all of that, recognize it's the most important job in the world and the only one that you want to do. So if you're not in that place yet, then maybe a gap year is a good idea.
Thank you, Mandy. Hannah, this is about references. When selecting a referee, would you prefer it to come from someone with a childcare background, or is there a specific criteria for sending through referees for your application?
So on your UCAS application, we must see an academic reference. So we have to have that. That's one of our requirements. If you've got additional references from, say, a family or work, then you can email them to us additionally, or you can bring them along in your portfolio. But we do ask everybody to have an academic reference.
Thanks, Hannah. We've got a couple of questions about if I don't get into Norland, can I reapply? And if I don't get into Norland, will I be given feedback of as to why I didn't get into Norland? So I think that's for Mandy, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Yes, of course. In fact, quite often people who don't first get into Norland take their feedback and then reapply, are actually showing us that real commitment and perseverance, which are two qualities that we really look for in Norland nannies. So you're very, very welcome and encouraged to reapply if you don't get in the first time. Yes, you will be given feedback. You will, if it's something straightforward, like your results come and they're not quite what you expected, and therefore you're not able to attend, then it's very clear that you need to go out and do something to get some more UCAS points. If it's something related to your interview, then all you need to do once you get the decision after your interview is just contact admissions, and they will be able to give you some feedback about what went wrong on the day. And that's, we just look for people who learn from those experiences and are then able to make a change and be better next time.
Thank you very much. I'm going to wrap that up because a lot of the questions we've answered, but also we can respond to those specific questions after the presentation. We'll get an email sent out to you with the answers to those questions, but I'm conscious of the time now. So if I can have the final slide, that would be great, Mandy. Lovely. So if you are looking to find out a bit more information, as we've kind of talked about through the whole presentation, come along to an open day. That really is the best way to meet students. If you're lucky, you might meet some of the students on here tonight, but it's the best way to find out more about us. Our next open day is on Saturday, the 11th of October. It is really getting very full, so please join us as soon as you can. The booking system is all on the website. If you sign up to our mailing list, you'll get that information through, so do book and come along and see us. Our next virtual open event is on the 19th of November. That's going to be in the evening, and that's going to be the full Discover Norland presentation, but you'll also hear from different departments and obviously students as well. Our next Norland Unwrapped session, so this is the one that we're really keen about. This is the next taster session. Is going to be about the baby years. If you remember during the presentation, Mandy spoke about that specific module. So we're going to have some of the lecturing team, and they're going to give you a little taste of the degree taster session, all about the baby years. So that's going to be a really exciting session. We've done quite a lot of taster sessions, and this is going to be, I think, our 5th one. So definitely worth joining us for that. If you're unsure about anything, you've got lots of contact information this evening. So contact the admissions team. You can also email inquiries. You can also contact me through your school, etc. Opportunities, obviously, to join on. You can just book on via our website. Best thing to do, contact the mailing list and join up for that as well. Also, the TAP Ambassador platform. There are students available for you to talk to. You can ask those questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. They were all in your position a couple of years ago, like you three were. So definitely ask those questions. That's really important. So I'm going to say a huge thank you to everybody this evening. It was so lovely that you could all join us, and especially thank you to the students for obviously giving up their valuable time. So hopefully we will see you at the open day. If not, we'll see you at another Norland Unwrapped. So thank you, everybody, and have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.